Okay, so here we are. We've got out the old-fashioned road map. We're preparing to head out to see the Narethas. So we're basically going to be obviously just north of Perth, and we'll head to, on our first day and head into a town called Southern Cross, which is sort of renowned for more so mining. The second day we will head Southern Cross up into Kalgoorlie, which would be roughly 590 k's. We will then head east of Kalgoorlie, heading out on the Trans railway line access track, which is a road, heading out through numerous of these little locations. Kunana's one of them, heading out to Zanthus. So most of all these buildings are gone, which is unfortunate and sad in some of these areas. We do believe there's still a building out at Zanthus, so we'll head out to Zanthus and have a look. From Zanthus, obviously we keep heading east until we get out to obviously Naretha, and that's obviously the famous name for the famous little bird. So that's about where we're going to be heading off. So I don't know, probably could be up to 980 kilometres one way, you know, a couple thousand k's round trip by the time we get out and back. Okay, so here we are. We're out in the mild country land. This is where it all originated, all them years ago. The government departments decided to do a captive breeding program on the beautiful little Naretha bluebonnet parrot. We've just spent time out here looking and finding them. The harshness of this country is unbelievable, as you can see. They've just recently had some good rains in the last few weeks. But they're coming off a 4-year drought, so until you actually get out here and realise the vastness of this country and just how dry it is. But as far as the birds are concerned, we were quite happy to see little groups of them, so it's quite heartening to know that they're still here. It's been over 10 years since I was here, and I just had the urge that I would need to come back. You hear a lot of reports about them and just see how they're going, and they'd be doing it tough. It'd be one of the harshest environments that these little birds have to be in, and it's certainly a bit of a track to get out here too. It's not for the faint-hearted, you have to know what you're doing. But anyway, really glad that I've come out and been able to see them again. Sort of a dream fulfilled for me. So yeah, just keep watching this and we'll keep going. So here we are. We're sitting at Narita Siding, which 205 miles east of Cal, or 330 kilometres. It's very different to what it would have been back in obviously around 1921. So this would have been like a little small community of houses. Obviously the train station where I'm standing right at the moment is just basically all that's left now is the platform. A lot of the other, obviously all the other buildings are all gone. There's been a bit of a shed built there, but that's basically, that's all that's left there now. Okay, so the story goes that Mr. White, being the wealthy grazier, had heard about Mr. Whitlock. Whitlock had a reputation in Australia for being able to get hold of parrots. Mr. White was made aware of this, had contacted Whitlock and asked him if he could go out and collect specimens for him. Now the story goes that Whitlock had arrived at Zanthus station and had actually heard or seen a bird in one of the railway workers' house, and straight away had said to him, "What is it? And where's this bird come from?" So he had obviously been directed down to Naretha, and from there he was able to collect the specimens that Mr. White required. Okay, so this is the very station right here, way back in August 1921, when Whitlock handed Mr. White the 3 Naretha bird skins all that time ago. Mr. White then went on and announced this new Australian parrot to the world. So the scientific name is Northiella narethae, and White obviously was credited being the European discovery of the bird, but as we all know, the birds would have been out here for hundreds and hundreds of years prior. Here we are, basically have located some, and they are eating a saltbush, which is obviously they are renowned for. They do obviously thrive, and that's their main source of food out here. And this is actually what we call the ruby saltbush, and if you can see, he's actually eating the little berries off of the plant. In this area where we are, there is quite a few of the salt bushes here, and there's birds scattered amongst the salt bushes. One thing I did notice, and that's to do with the casuarina trees, which we thought was very, very noticeable. In and around the homesteads, we noticed wire, and there was some old wire wrapped around the base and halfway up these trees. Now you have to understand, some of these trees at full height, they're only 3 metres high, and we didn't really get what it was. And then there was also some fresh wiring. So apparently by the looks, it's put on to stop the trees from actually splitting. So obviously it's a natural progression of these trees. The older they get, they seem to split open and then obviously fall down. We saw that more so out back down the road away from the stations, where some of these trees had actually done that. So we're not 100%, but we're pretty sure that that's what it's done for, because you can see the older trees have split down the middle, and I think that the wire does hold them, and that some of this wire would have been 20-30 years old, I would have imagined. Okay, so this is obviously one of the water holes. I can hear a pump going. So I guess if you look at the wide picture, if it wasn't for the pastoralists that turned up, I guess, all them years ago and created stuff like this, then probably the birds, all the birds for that matter, wouldn't have survived. At least they've given them a source of water. Obviously they need water for their stock, and they live on the station. They need water for the home, but there's a lot of bird life in around here. Some pigeons, bronze-winged pigeons, crested pigeons are over there. I dare say the Narethas. We have seen mulga parrots and the little zebra finches as well. And I dare say that they would possibly even come down here, even though there will be cattle troughs throughout the property. But walking up here, and birds have flown, so I'm assuming they would come in here and drink as well. So I guess in an upside, the birds survive because of man-made water holes like this. This is typical of the Naretha's nest. This would be no more than a foot and a half, 600 mil, 500 mil from the ground. Little hole like this. And they get in there, and that's where they are. That's where they nest. Unfortunately, over the journey, the trees are deteriorating. We have a look over here. Again, a little group just flying through. Little group of mulgars. Beautiful little birds there. Let's see if we can get a picture in a minute. This here, I'd say, you can see over the journey, they obviously have bred in it, but unfortunately we can see what happens. This is nature. So it's rotted out now. But over the journey, there would have been a lot of Narethas bred in this tree, and this is the sad thing about it. I guess, you know, if the distance wasn't so long, and I mean, I guess trees like this could be repaired somehow to try and get another one here. Birds definitely would have nested in this over the journey. So it's sad in a lot of respects that they will lose. Like there's a classic one over here, we'll walk over and have a look. So this is just a little group, you know, dozen trees. But just to give you a bit of an idea how difficult and how harsh it is for these. I would imagine in breeding season this probably would be an active nest. Everything I've seen in here at the moment, this is probably the best. So whether Narethas or mulgars, but I guess what happens is the trees hollow themselves out, and something that would have been great for them all them years ago sadly becomes non-usable. Out here, so from where we've come from, where the cattle are grazing, I'm assuming there would be stock in here, but the saltbush on the side of the road is a pretty major source for not only birds but the animals out here as well. So with a bit of luck, you would think there's Narethas through there. Water probably be their biggest issue, but certain times of the year they obviously get enough moisture out of the plants to survive, but come breeding season it might be a little bit different. But no doubt there's water through there where the station owners have got water for their stock. Just coming up to another one of the many cattle grids or grids that you go over. As you can see, supposedly in the day it was to stop the cattle from walking through, but I think over time the fences are gone, so it's just as easy for them to walk around it now. Back in the day it would have been fenced all down the side there, and this would have been the only way you could have got through. It was over the grid. As you can see, old fences there are all gone now, but that's how it would have been, and that's just a reminder of what it was like. They've probably tried to stop dingoes, wild dogs from getting in. Not that that fence is going to stop a whole lot now, but it possibly served its purpose back when they first built it. You see these sort of fences for kilometres and kilometres. So. But anyway, we'll just keep going. Okay, so here we are. We've come along a little bit further, found another little group of trees. Obviously, over the journey you can see that these have been active Narethas nests, and also obviously at some stage people have tried to actually repair the damaged trees, or over the journey, you know, looks like people have destroyed the nest to either get to the eggs or get to young birds, which is unbelievably sad and disgraceful, because okay, they've taken the babies or the eggs or whatever they're chasing, but it ruins the tree. And they're just so limited out there. There's just not a lot of trees out there for these poor little birds. And you have to understand it. You've got not only the Narethas, but the little mulga parrot, he's out there as well. But obviously, predominantly, it's Naretha country. But I couldn't really find any evidence of fresh cuttings or chopping. Looks like people have tried to carry out some repairs on these trees, because as we've said the whole way through since we've been out here, the trees are really very far and few between now. So it's not like it would have been back in the day when the birds were first discovered. There's a lot of changes in this area from all that time ago. So it's really, really important that they can try and preserve the trees, but obviously people that have come out this way before and have made a point to try and repair some of the nest damage, or even where the trees have split, people have tried to nail tin back over to try and help it out, the nesting sites, because like I say, there's not as many trees as there certainly was when I was here probably 10, 12 years ago. So yeah, so we seem to keep sort of coming across it. There's little groups of trees that are well and truly still intact and are great, but then you get trees like these that need a little bit of help along the way. I know it's rumoured back many years ago, you know, station owners weren't that worried about the bird. The good thing out there now is speaking to some of the owners when we moved through the stations, and they're very weary of people coming onto their stations. Some have got cameras set up. If they see a vehicle, they will get on the two-way to all the stations and let them know, normally registration, whatever type of car. And they're very mindful of it. They're very mindful now of what would have been happening or what was going on. So they're trying to protect the bird a little bit. But it was heartening to hear that with the people we got to speak to, that they're trying their best to do their little bit. Not only do they have the bird on their properties, you know, they're trying to do a little bit to try and preserve trees and just look out for the birds. We hope to get back out this way again one day and just check on everything again, but just like to thank yous, take the time to check the video out. Since we've been out here, it's been fairly windy, so you'll probably find that comes across a little bit in the video. You might hear you know, a bit of wind in the background, but look, it's really been a real amazing trip. Like I said, I did it a number of years ago. I was always eager to come back and just see how the birds were. There's rumours, I haven't followed up on them yet, that supposedly someone has seen a flock of 50 to 100 of them, but sometimes you tend to hear a lot of these stories when you get out in the back and beyond. So till you can actually see it with your own eyes, and you know, maybe get some photos or videos of it, I don't believe it at this stage. But let's just hope that is the case. But yeah, so look, again, thanks a lot for everything. Like I say, been a real exciting few days for us out checking out on the Narethas. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Okay then, we'll see you later. Bye.